Right now is the TCU Ranch Management Program. I'm a big fan of the TCU Ranch Management Program. Our next speaker is a graduate of the program. My son Tucker went through the program, and I'd be interested to know, are there other TCU Ranch Management alumni in the crowd? Show of hands. We've got, I know Jeff Mitchell's here, several in the crowd. Outstanding. It is a great program. And I've been blessed with the opportunity. Trevor and I have been working together actually to help take TCU on to the next level. And so we're excited about that. As everyone's getting seated, I want to call up one of the instructors and a gentleman who spent a lot of time here in the Texas Panhandle in the feed yard business, Matt McLennan. If you'll come on up, representing the TCU Ranch Management Program, and if you'll just tell them just a little bit about TCU.
No, that's fine. Everybody can hear me. So, yeah, so this is a little bit of my home country. I'm a native of Fort Worth, but I hadn't lived there in a long time, and lived in the Panhandle actually over 20 years and was feed yard manager over south of Groover for almost 10 years before I went down and joined the faculty at TCU Ranch Management. I'm an alumni of that program from 1992. Fort Worth is a lot bigger than it was when I lived there a long time ago. Anyway, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for all our alumni here and our program. We've got some great things going on in our program. Donald mentioned it, a new director search. We're updating some curriculum and doing some exciting things. And would love for you to come over to the booth and visit with me, visit with anybody. And I think we got exciting things and good times coming at TCU Ranch Management. This is a great program. I always wanted to get over here when I lived up here, and I was busy in a feed yard and couldn't get over here, but now that I've moved 6 hours away, well, here I am. So it's a great program, and good to see you all here today, and would love to visit with anybody about TCU Ranch Management. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate that. And their booth is just right as you go into the tent, right in front of you. So be sure and stop by and talk to Matt. You've got some prospective students, or you may be one that's interested in the TCU Ranch Management Program. I know they've had students anywhere from the age of 18 to 48. So the door is open. Is that right, Matt? Absolutely. Very good. Taking students to start in August. Don't you still have opportunity room there? Okay. Our next speaker is from the Panhandle, grew up in Amarillo, Texas, and he is a part of a ranching and cattle industry family business that is now the 6th largest packing company in the United States. The Caviness family with their packing plant in Hereford, Texas, and just 5 or 6 years ago opened a new packing plant in Idaho, and they're continue to grow the business, continue to work in it. Our speaker, Trevor, his dad, Terry, let me see your hand there. Terry Caviness, his father is here in the crowd. Steve Anthony, one of their buyers at the booth back there. I know a lot of you work with the Caviness family, and so we're blessed to have Terry with us. He went and got, you know what a lot of us probably should have gotten? He went and got a business and finance degree and came back and is now president of Caviness Pack. He's been there 25 years. He is as president of the company, he oversees marketing, food safety, and business development. With that, he's here to talk about the future of the cow business from the perspective of the nation's largest cow harvesting company. Please help me in welcoming Trevor Caviness.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Donald. It's been great to work with Donald Brown over the past month. I think I've seen him more than the past several years, but it's been a pleasure working with him, and I'd like to thank TCU for their sponsorship of this. As they said, I was an alumni there in 1998. The class has come back to our beef plant every year since, so for 25 years. So if anybody has young students or folks that are even looking into a second career, I would highly recommend TCU Ranch Management as far as a quality program. Several alumni are here, I realize that, but it's just a quality program for a business, the business side of ranching. So appreciate them. Thank you, Matt. And appreciate all our sponsors, other sponsors here, and Andy for having us be a part of this conference. If you have any questions after this, Steve Anthony is at our booth, so feel free to stop by there. I'll just go into, we're 61 years as a family-owned, operated beef packing company, and started by my grandfather, Pete Caviness. My father, Terry, is currently CEO. He got out, I think his first job was shoveling poop and everything else when he was a junior in high school in 1962. He got out of Texas Tech in 1969 and has been integral part and basically leading the company shortly thereafter. I got out in 98 of ranch management. I have a brother that got out of ranch management at TCU in 2001, I believe. And so we have always been in the live cattle production ever since I was little. It's ingrained in us. My granddad, Pete, he was a lifelong cattle buyer, beef packer buyer, as well as all classes of cattle. He saw the opportunity to buy a small meat locker plant in Hereford, did 12 to 15 head a day, went there, did that, and thus started our company. So 61 years, you see our mission there, our core values. Relationships have always been important to us, as they were for my granddad and my dad, Terry, my uncle Brent, who was in the business for a very long time, still a cattle buyer as well. And so relationships are what have been, key to building our business, and transparency and openness. And anybody who sends us 1 head or 50 head or 2,000 head is welcome to come through our plant, follow their animals, follow the carcass, understand what goes on behind those walls and how we do what we do. We believe in giving back to the community is essential. It's a work-life balance, and people work hard, but also we want families to have quality of life things and all the support needed in the communities in which we work and live. Just going into, we went from 15 head up to about 730 head at our existing location in Hereford. Then in 2005, we completed construction of our new harvest floor. And so we went from 730 head to 950 head for that phase 1. Phase 2, we added fabrication, we added rendering, and distribution, and we went to 1,200, then 1,400, 1,800 head daily. And then just 2 years ago, we completed construction on our second shift expansion. And that was new welfare for 600 additional employees. It was new cooler space for the carcasses. It was new distribution space. It was new wastewater facilities and DAF and system there. It was new cattle pen space. It was new hide space. So there's a lot to it when you go from 1 shift to 2 shifts. And that took a couple years of construction. And then adding 600 employees right in the middle of COVID was a lot of fun as well. But we got going a couple years ago, and just this past year, 2022, we were able to get up to our projected levels. So that we're excited to have that behind us, and we're up to 2,900 head per day in Hereford. In 2017, we completed construction of our CS beef packer plant. It's just south of Boise, Idaho. That plant was modeled after our Hereford plant, but with about 1,000 tweaks. So we started working construction there in 15, finished in 17. It's a 50-50 partnership with the J.R. Simplot Company. They're a large rancher, I think the second largest in the U.S. and the seventh largest cattle feeder in the U.S. And so they know the Pacific Northwest. We don't know it. It was a good partnership to come together. We know the beef packing side of things. We saw a need. There wasn't another plant within 720 miles of Kuna, Idaho. So we went forward with that. Started that in 2017, doing 1,800 head a day there at this time. And with all of this, the majority of our business, 90% in Texas, is cull cows and bulls from ranches and dairies. And in Idaho, about 85% are cull cows and bulls from ranches and dairies. And then the other 10% in Texas are fed beef, less than 30 months, coming out of feed yards. In Idaho, about 15% to 20% are fed beef coming out of feed yards. As you can see, these circles here are our procurement areas. We buy within a 600-mile radius of Hereford, Texas, and Kuna, Idaho. And that can ebb and flow depending on droughts and different situations in different areas. We have buyers in every sale barn within that 600-mile radius. And we buy directly from ranches and directly from dairies as well, as many as you know. So we like the sale barns. Some places and people, it makes sense to go to the sale barn. Some, it makes sense to come to us, just depending where you are and how big of lots you have to market. But we're most of the western U.S. in our procurement there. As Donald said, we're number 6 on the top 10 beef packers at 4,700 head per day. We've been climbing. American Foods Group is also a cow packer primarily. They do some fed as well, but they're a great competitor with 5 plants north of us. And so our annual harvest, just looking at this, if you can see it in Hereford, last year we were 820,000, and in Kuna, Idaho, last year 440,000, I believe. So 1.2-ish million head were harvested in 2022 out of both plants. So that was a 17.2% annual increase year over year from 21. And a lot of that, the drought, a lot of that too, our second shift in Texas really got humming. We were able to staff up the full 600 team members. And so those efficiencies all came together with a large amount of cows coming to market. This year, we will not do 820,000 head. We're already tracking behind that, which we should be, and we're glad to be. But a lot less Saturdays will be ran this year and have been ran this year. Along with that, just you take off one day, and that's 15% less harvested per week. That's the same for us as it is for any other packer anywhere. And so we were up 17.2 last year, which was great. The U.S. beef cow harvest last year was up 12%. So we were up more than the nation last year, but most of that due to us having our second shift capabilities and that hitting its stride. And you can see, if you look at some of that, it's hard for me to see it here, but the number of cows slaughtered from the 2010 to 12 during that drought, what just happened in the past 2.5, 3 years, we harvested just as many or more in this drought. So it was more widespread than the last drought. And so we definitely have depleted the beef cow herd, as many of y'all have known and seen, and that's a good thing. Now, it's not a good thing that it's depleted. It's a good thing prices are up. And we need prices to be up for the sustainability and the lifeblood of the industry. And we are tickled to see that. We understand where our food comes from, where the cows come from, and we need this industry to be healthy in all sectors. And we're glad that it's getting there and should be there for several years to come. On the dairy cow slaughter side, and that's a part that nationally there's 30 million beef cows, okay, and say 10 to 12% are culled every year. So that gives 3.6 million beef cows coming to a cow packer harvester. Nationally, there are 9 million dairy cows, but dairies cull 30% of their herd every year. And so there's 2.6, 2.8 million dairy animals harvested each and every year. So 41% of all cows harvested are dairy cows. 60-ish% are beef cows. And you can see this year, dairy cow slaughter is projected to be up 4%. And last year, it was down 3%. So dairies were down last year, beef was up, net up. This year, beef's down, dairy's projected to be up. Dairies cull the day that the milk produced from that cow does not pay for the feed and input costs of that cow. And so a lot of that has to do with the price of milk, butter, whey, all the different commodities that come from a dairy animal. And so with some of these prices and the high cost of feed, dairies are culling at a fairly healthy clip this year. You see this is slaughter stats on dairy animals. That is what you can, maybe y'all can see it better, I don't know, but I can't. The Texas region, 13.5% up, and I think 20-something% up year to date for dairy animals culled. The Northwest, where our Idaho plant is up 7%, I think up 9%. It's a little different across the country for the different dairy regions, just depending on where they are and what they're processing with that milk and what they're turning that into, as well as the feed costs and then just markets in general. And so with the dairies being up this year, and in particular in both regions where we have plants, that has helped offset us as a beef packer to fill our plants. I think year to date, we are down about 3% so far this year versus last year, but only 3%, but that's due to this increased dairy movement. During the last drought in 2010 to 12, coming out of that, the dairy movement was not near as large, so there weren't as many. So the dairies have helped offset a little bit from the beef packing side. Beef production, as you can see here, federally inspected beef production last year, 2022, was record level. Never in history have we produced more beef in this country, and that happened with the existing plants that are here today taking that on. And also last year, labor became a little better than it was prior to that due to COVID. Coming out of that, just like it did for us, it helped plants get a little more efficient. So you can see this year we're down, and that's down because numbers are down. These plants are working Many plants working 32, 36 hours now. We're lucky to still work full 5 days and not 6. So its dynamics have changed dramatically. Beef packer margins are break even or negative today. I'm glad I wasn't speaking here last year. Y'all might have shot me or something. The beef packer margins were large the past couple years. And you can see that in this graph. You know, that's beef packer operating margin going back to 1985. And so, you know, traditionally, they've been low compared to, relative to the past few years where they jumped up. They jumped up because of a bottleneck. First, the Tyson fire. Well, I'd say before that, 2015, they started going, 16 going up. A lot of that was labor being very tight, and it has been it's the number one thing beef packers face is labor. Our wages just for our company have gone up 42% in the past 2.5 years. We start at $21 an hour, and that's for somebody with a heartbeat ready to go to work. We will take them and put them to work and train. So it's a hard business, and it really isn't for everybody. We have 80% of our staff that is, you know, folks have been there 3 to 40, 50 years working for us. It's the bottom 20% that churns and churns and churns. And that's what we all struggle with on how to assimilate new young folks into this business and do these physically demanding jobs. So labor is up, cost all, just like everything else in ranching. Inflation is real, whether it's our packaging or our boxes or any electrical supplies, whatever, machinery, equipment, it's all up. So some of that operating margin is a little inflated. I don't think they've always been up with the times on exactly the cost to harvest and process animals. But still, it's been good years for the beef packing sector, but they've been tough years. I'll tell you that, very tough with COVID going on. And it's a bottleneck thing that happened. It started with Tyson fire. That hurt backlog of cattle. You have more supply than can be fed through the plants. If the plants were operating optimally, the cattle would have flown. Plants weren't operating optimally by any means. They didn't. They got backed up. That's the bottleneck. Cow-calf operating margin, as you can see, and I know a lot of this covered cattle facts, and y'all see this every day, but I like this just to, it shows, and it gives me a little hope in that, you know, there were years from 78 to 2002 where hardly ever broke $100 a head. And so then after that, 2002, got up to 150, 180, and all this follows the 7, 8, 9 year cattle cycle. And then the drought happened, liquidation happened, prices went up, everybody started building the herd, came back down, but it came back down around $100 a head. And now it's gone back up because of this recent drought. So hopefully we're plateauing to higher levels, which we need to plateau to higher levels to keep up with this inflation. But very hopeful we're getting to some new, new bottom, so to speak, during these cycles. So it's been profitable for packers. It's been profitable for ranchers. It also cattle feeding. Cattle feeding margins have been really good the past 2 to 3 years, and right now are great, depending how you're hedged and margin calls and whatnot. But just strictly by the numbers, margins have been good for all 3 sectors for 3 or 4 years. I don't know when the last time it went for a 3 or 4 year period where all have been profitable. So hopefully that can continue. It probably will not be the case for beef packing, without a doubt, here for a while, especially with these new plants coming on and that added capacity, which are good, definitely in some areas, but there's more capacity coming on than what there are cattle going to be available. So it'll be very interesting times. This is some of our brands. Paladuro brand is our beef cow brand and has been since 1982 when my father, Terry, first bought Paladuro meat in Amarillo, Texas. So we adopted that brand and we've kept it ever since. Paladuro Premium is our white cow brand, which is a cow that's been fed, feed in a feed yard type environment for 60 or more days, turns the back fat white. It can qualify as a white cow. And so those white cow products versus a grass-fed cow products. Grass-fed are more yellow. Eye appeal is bi appeal, and yellow doesn't have much bi appeal. Most of the cows from ranches go to be further processed or cooked or food service, thinly sliced, nicely spiced, go to Asian type restaurant, Hispanic restaurants, or lower end steakhouses. But primals, subprimals from every cow get saved just like they do from fed animals. Some people have the misconception that a cow is just all turning into hamburger. That's not true. 50% of the cow goes to beef trimmings that turns into hamburger or some further processed. 30% are primals, subprimals, and still whole muscle cuts that are being used and utilized. And then 20% are the bones and inedible that go to meat and bone meal rendering. Our Caviness packing brand is all our off-fall products. We sell off-fall nationally and internationally. We sell to probably 20 different countries. My brother Reagan is involved in our live cattle side, but also our off-fall sales and does a lot of export sales, along with our rest of our marketing team. But we export about 15% of what we process daily, and so it's a big value add to the value of your animal, for sure. Then our fed programs, we have Caviness Top Shelf. That program is our commodity Prime Choice Select that we sell food service and retail. And then Caviness Farm Fresh is a program where we have a GAP 4 certified program. Most of that goes through our Farm Fresh, goes to the Whole Foods in Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. So if you're at a Whole Foods there, you're getting Caviness Farm Fresh, GAP 4, Step 4 beef there. And then grass-fed beef, we have a program there, and a lot of that goes to the Whole Food system as well. So we are starting an Angus program, a CAB program, here in just the next few weeks that will go under the Caviness Top Shelf Angus brand, but will be CAB on the fed side coming up. So we're excited about adding value there. We also do a couple custom programs. We probably get a call every week for somebody who has a marketing plan and a program and wants to process their cattle to be put in a box for them. We just don't have capacity or space or days in the week or the ability to stop our chain to do those programs. If we did, we could, but we're not set up that way. We run about 200 head per hour at our plant. But we do Heart Brand Beef is a custom program that we do. It's Akaushi from the Kobe region of Japan. We process their cattle, put in their box, and distribute where they market to their distribution centers. We do the same with 44 Farms with their Angus program and their 44 Farms steak program that you can buy online and wherever they market, in white tablecloth restaurants as well. So those are 2 weekly programs that we custom process in addition to our own brands. In 2022, October 1st of this year, we moved into our new ground beef plant in Amarillo. We started ground beef in 2001 in Amarillo at our old Paladero facility with 1 grind line. And as we moved out of that, our fabrication part out of that facility to Hereford, then we ground and grew our ground beef production in our old facility off Amarillo Boulevard. October 22, added this new state-of-the-art plant to continue our growth in further processing and growing and adding value through ground beef. So with that, we do fresh and frozen patties, we do chubs, we do bricks, we do overwrap, food service, institutional, and retail on the ground beef side of things. Really excited about that facility and getting it going. Animal welfare, very important. Definitely, they're in the early 2000s, there were videos that came out, and mishandling of cattle really made huge changes to the industry. We have 3 PACO certified employees at our facility, both facilities, and so we are constantly auditing our own process and our livestock handling. We require the trucking and the freight to be BQA certified. We have a dairy quality program too, where we require the same of the dairies, and as much as we can down through the beef side. But being good stewards of cattle is very important to the industry. Do you want to get into, just for y'all that may, a lot of you know, and you get it, you send your cows and you have 3 cutters and 2 lean boners and 5 breakers and, some mix of what you have. Well, this is a cutter cow. This is the majority of beef cows off of ranches that are culled. You can see their ribs and their hook and pin bones. It's a thin, shelly cow and has very little back fat. And so we pay a price for a cutter cow, say it's $2 today for a cutter cow. So she brings the highest price per pound back to you, but she probably won't bring the highest yield back to you. So this cow will yield about 45% live to dressed. And so our buyers in the sale barns would look at this cow and try to decide, okay, she's going to yield 45%, and I know we can pay $2, so therefore this is what I can pay for her live at 1,200 pounds or $11.50. And that's how they come up with that calculation. It's quick math, moving quickly through there. But 46%, her carcass might be $622. It's going to be $1,200, somewhere around there, that you'll get from a cull cow today, which is very high and could be record high. I'd have to go back and look, but it's a great value for a cull cow if you do have to part with her. Lean boning utility cow. This is one just a little more back fat, 1/4 inch of back fat on a lean boner, and she will net you less per pound, so maybe not $2, but maybe $1.95. And Steve, I'm just throwing out prices, but we're somewhere in that range. And so $1.95, but she's going to yield more. She will yield 49%. So a little less per pound, but her yield will offset that. She too will bring around $1,200 today. Boning utility cow, this is one that has about 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch back fat. Well, really up to 1 inch, easily up to 1 inch. So dry for a long period of time type cow, or a cow that's been on feed. So that's what a boning utility, and they will yield 52, 53, 54%. Breaking utility cow are those well over an inch of back fat, looks more like a feed yard type animal, and could be a cow on feed or cow on great nutrition that hadn't been culled. They will yield 56, 55, somewhere in that range. They'll be paid a little lower per pound. And the whole value there, on the highest from the cutter to the lowest to the breaker per pound, is due to that 50% of the carcass goes into beef trimmings. And 90 lean beef trimmings are $1 or $2.80 today. And 50 lean beef trimmings are $1.80, $1.90 today. So there's a big difference in lean trim value versus fat trim value. But by the way, 50s have jumped up about 70 cents in the past 2 weeks due to the low numbers coming through these fed plants. Just going back and kind of our sustainability program, very key to beef packing and in any industry. And sustainability's always been around. People, profit, planets. We've all been sustainable. We're still in business. But really, to me, it's all about data, collecting data, utilizing that data to improve your operation in what if it's the environmental part, or the people part, or the community part, or the profit part. It's being responsible stewards of what we're in charge in, and you can't do that without tracking and without the data. It's also good for marketing and everybody's social media today and all of that. It's great to throw out numbers and improvement and tell our story to the rest of the world that are non-rural folks, and so they can better understand what we do and why we do it. For us, a big thing, we cover our lagoons, our first 4 lagoons. So we capture methane, and that methane comes back through and fires 2 of our boilers to our plant in both locations. And so that offsets about 25% of our natural gas usage. So that's a big plus and a savings and good on the carbon side. Also, our wastewater. We use a lot of water to wash and clean these carcasses and animals. Well, it goes through the system. We mix it with fresh water, and we have pivots and circles and crops, and we raise hay and different crops to go back and then feed the animals. So it's a circle. It's not all water usage, water gone, water wasted. It goes back, and it works well. Caring for our community, I touched on it. We happy to be part of the communities that we're involved with. We cooked 15,000 meals last year, or provided food for 15,000 meals. We're part of food drives and can drives and helping monetarily for different initiatives in the community to help support these rural communities, which we're part of. It's a big thing for our families and our folks, and for suppliers, and it takes everybody. Built on relationships. Like I said from the beginning, that's what Caviness family is all about. That's why we've been able to stay in business. It's a hard business. Nothing easy about it, from the labor side to the regulatory side to the marketing side, all sides. So it takes us all, and it's same as ranching, same as many industries. That's why we all have something to get up, look forward to every day. It's never the same, and there's always challenges. So with that, I think that's my last slide. Open to any questions that anybody may have, and happy to talk. Yes. Yes.
Here, let me get you this mic real quick. That way everybody can hear your question. Thank you, Terry. Tell us your name and
Jerry Keith, Amarillo.
Yes.
Who would you call? Would you take 3 or 4 cull cows from the ranch if we bring them in a trailer? And who would you call, or do you want them to go to the sale barn? And the second is, what is your building budget a year?
Okay, those are two different questions. Call our main cattle procurement office. It's 806-357-2333. Or go to our website and look it up. Steve Anthony's here at our booth. He's head of cattle procurement for our Hereford plant, and he can schedule you in. And along with that, if you can give us a heads up, that's great, because anything you can schedule can help you and that animal get the highest yield possible. It's those that just show up with goosenecks and loads and we're not expecting them that may have to wait a while, and then you'll have some yield loss for standing around. And so please call ahead and give us as much time as possible. Right now, we have a little more, capacity than when we were fuller, so it might work you in quicker. But there have been times of the year, especially in the fall, where you really need to schedule a couple weeks in advance. Your second question.
I just want to know what your building budget was.
Building budget, too much. It's with the cost and inflation today, if we had built our plant today, it would be 4 times, 5 times higher than what we built that for. Same with our plant in Idaho. The Hereford plant started in 2005 and has been a progression. The Idaho plant in 2015 finished in 2017. But still, the plants being built today are 4 or 5 times higher than what we built ours for.
Matt's got a question right over here.
Yes.
So this is Matt Chisholm from Stinnett.
Yes, sir.
And 2 questions. One is, what is the percentage of beef that comes through your facility in Hereford that actually goes to human consumption versus other types of products?
Okay. Percentage of beef to human, it would be about 85% goes to edible, and about 15% goes to inedible.
All right. And then second question, the Paladura facility that's on Amarillo Boulevard is used for what now, and where is the brand new Paladura facility?
We just moved out of the Boulevard facility in September and into the brand new facility, which is on South Washington, right across from Affiliated Foods, the northeast corner of the Loop and Washington.
Okay, so is there any use for the old facility on Boulevard now?
We've been there a long time, so it takes us a while to clean up and get out of there. But we haven't totally decided we may use it for some storage. We may put it on the market. Haven't made that decision
Thank you.
yet. Yes, sir.
Other questions? Got a question right over there. I'm coming.
Give you a workout.
Kathy Price from Lipscomb, just up the road here. I was noticing your dairy numbers and how high they were, and I was just curious, do we have that many more dairies in our area, or are they culling them at a younger age? Are they getting past their usefulness, or what is the deal on those dairy numbers going so high?
The dairies, that's a good question, and that's a big part of our growth, are the dairies moving to eastern New Mexico and the Texas Panhandle, all the way up through Kansas, mostly from the West Coast. That influx has been a major reason why we have been able to grow, just because of their proximity to us. But their recent culling would just be, they were down. They didn't cull hard last year. Several dairies have grown in this region and continue to grow. And so at this point, this year, this time, the price of feed and the price of milk, those two things is the reason they're culling. And they'll, whenever those dynamics change, that'll change on a dime. So, yeah. And the average dairy cow that we process is 4 to 5 years of age, whereas the average beef cow is 10 to 12 years of age.
So Trevor, I have a couple of questions. First of all, this is a real subjective question, so it's your opinion. Based on what's been happening with the drought through the western half of the United States for nearly a decade now, and including most all of the plain states, a lot of people have sold out. How concerned are you guys that there won't be a rancher to come back and replace that sold out rancher with cows to stock that country in the future? Is that a factor that's going to affect our beef industry in the next decade?
I think it's, you know, it's just like anything, it's supply and demand. And just like the last drought in 2011-12, prices shot up, that trigger shot up, the herd rebuilt in 6 years and got to its peak within 7 years. And so this, well, it just depends. There's always a drought somewhere, and the length of the drought and when all that stops and how fast the beef herd can rebuild. The dairy herd goes up and down 3 or 4% every year, always has. The beef is a little more dramatic in its swings, and so I'm very optimistic about the future. I think you saw the stair-step of profits for beef cow-calf producers. You're going to go down, you're going to go up, but hopefully the downs aren't as far down as they have been in the past, and the ups are a lot higher. And so urbanization, this country's growing. Texas is growing. Texas has 30 million people today. It's supposed to have 50 million by 2050. 17% of Texas is urban today. We're gaining 1,200 people every day. That urban sprawl is happening. Ranches are going to hunting and different non-production type practices. So I think I'm just happy we're in West Texas, Panhandle, Mid-America. I think we have more opportunity here to continue growing our operations than those that are close to urban areas.
So a guy sent me this question. He didn't want to ask it on my phone. He texted it to me. He's a cow-calf producer, but he also feeds cattle in a feed yard here in the Panhandle. He wanted to know if Caviness would bid on his fat cattle and potentially buy them out of the feed yard.
We have fed cattle programs and have since 2010, and that's that Caviness Top Shelf and the Farm Fresh. So we're in the fed cattle market. Again, it's 10% in Texas of our total. We're looking to grow that some. We don't have a goal to grow it to 30 or 50. It may grow to 15, may grow to 20, may grow to 30 on the fed side. We think we have opportunity on the fed side to continue growing that. The CAB, we're excited about that. So yes, it's just pick up the phone, call, see if there's a match, if their program fits our program. And it's all about marketing. I would highly recommend anybody, most of you are already in a vertically aligned program, but that's where you add value. Those numbers were just commodity numbers based on commodity prices. A lot of you earn higher returns than that just because you're in a vertical supply and in a value-added program. But continue working with packers, feed yards, yourselves to add value. Most programs are value-added these days, unless you just don't have records and don't want to keep records. It's pretty easy in the whole scheme of things to do it. Just figure out which one fits best for you. Angus has been growing forever, or for 40 years since they started, continues to grow, but other breeds too have really caught on and done a good job marketing too. So Angus isn't everything. But some people may think so, and it's great and it's strong and done a lot for our industry. But there's other opportunities besides that.
So Trevor, Donald, if I could we're going to have an impromptu moment here. Could you ask your dad, Terry, to come up here just for a moment?
Can you ask him?
Ter-
Come on up.
Terry, would you come up here, please?
Don't rush too fast.
So, Donald, did you want to say something before I say this? So, in the past, at this beef cattle conference, we've recognized some beef cattle icons. And when I spoke with Trevor about this presentation and about being a corporate sponsor for our event, he said, "You bet." And I said, "Can your dad come?" And he said, "Well, I'm not sure. We'll just have to see how things go. And but I'll sure invite him and ask him on your behalf." Well, I had no idea that Terry Caviness was going to be with us today. And I want to tell you just a little bit. This doesn't have anything to do with this, but my dad and my father-in-law from Vega, Texas, both knew your dad, and thought a lot of Pete Caviness, and he was a character. He was a character, and there's a lot of characters among us too. So, but the thing that I think needs to be said, we recognized Rob Brown in this capacity 5 or 6 years ago. But folks, right here stands an industry icon, a man and a family that have changed the beef industry. And I don't mean this disrespectfully to Tyson or JBS or National or any of the other beef cattle packers, but the money they make goes somewhere besides the Texas Panhandle. The money that's the profits that come to Caviness stays in the Texas Panhandle. And what I've learned about Mr. Caviness is how kind-hearted and thoughtful he is about investing into the future. And so, Dr. Pond, if you'll stand up back there, and Dr. Lawrence, wherever you are, if you'll stand up back there. There he is. The West Texas A&M University has the leading meats laboratory in the world today because of this man right up here and Trevor and his brother Reagan, who have literally given many, many dollars to make that possible for research, for investment into young people that are going to be the future leaders of our beef cattle industry. And the thing that I've learned about the Caviness family, and Trevor referred to this, is they give and they give and they give to things going on here in the Texas Panhandle. I don't see that from other beef packing companies, but I sure see that from the Caviness family. So Terry, I want to recognize you. I want to thank you for raising 2 great sons, and I don't know the rest of your family, but thanks to Mrs. Caviness as well. And ladies and gentlemen, would you help me show our gratitude and appreciation to Mr. Terry Caviness for being a beef cattle icon.
Well, Andy, I'm so humbled and honored by this, and I know there's many people more deserving than I, but I thank you so very much. I'm so humbled by this. Thank you. Thank you all. And we realize the lifeblood of our business the ranchers and farmers and dairies of the industry. And we're here to support that industry to keep growing and making it healthy and prosperous. So that's our goal. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Terry. So, Trevor, your presentation has been one of the most important and most anticipated presentations of this whole beef conference. Thank you so much for your insight, for your vision, for your leadership. And please express to Reagan and the other members of the family how grateful we are for your investment and for the things you've done for this conference. Let's recognize Trevor Caviness.
Thanks for having us, Andy. No, it's been great. You bet.